Thank you, Datuk. Up next, we have Datuk Dr. Amirudin Abdul Wahab, CEO of Cybersecurity Malaysia, presenting a discussion on the state of cybersecurity threats and readiness in Malaysia.
Sorry. Okay, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank Datuk Arif, the key organizer for today's event, for inviting me to share and basically also to give some, I would say, awareness about what's happening in Malaysia, and also to my old friend and also current friends, Jay, and also the guests from US, and then ladies and gentlemen. So what basically I'll be sharing is more a bit of a high level of the Malaysia cybersecurity landscape, about the threat that's happening, focusing on global and also some Malaysia, and some of the readiness and how we do it at the national level. As we all know, our digital environment is getting more and more complex, and you can look at all these various technologies just now focusing about financial sector, the fintech. People talk about IoT, blockchain, Industry 4.0, and even artificial intelligence, and even autonomous driving and robotics. People are moving towards that. Even this convergence of cyber physical, they call it this Industry 4.0, and obviously that's the environment that the world is moving towards. And it also creates, I would say, a threat where this IoT, Internet of Things, can turn into Internet of Threats, because of the fact that we have more devices, we have more connectivity, and this exposes us. And if you look at some of these statistics, these are some of the predictions. For example, here, even this one is in 2016, the threat landscape where IoT here become a concern, attacks against devices, etc. So these are the trend. And in fact, by 2020, more than 25% of identified attacks on enterprise will involve IoT. So that's the global, I would say, trend. And if you look at the evolution of the attacks is also getting more and more sophisticated, very targeted. It started with, I think, in the beginning, just isolated cases of maybe espionage and even hackers testing and hacking, exploring networks for fame. It has evolved once computing become pervasive. So the computers has been used as tools to facilitate traditional offenses, and then hacking cases increases with motive become more diverse. And today, with more connectivity, massive data theft across verticals, rampant economic, political, military espionage, APT, the advanced persistent threat, etc., and malicious use of darknets. And in the future, with more connectivity, I mentioned just now, IoT enables new form of large-scale attack. Cyber conflicts will continue. So that's the trend. I mean, if there's a Gartner study saying that in 2003 we have 500 million global population. We have 6 million population, I think, and 500 million devices connected. But in 2020 they expect about 8 or 9 million population, something like that. But 500 billion devices connected. That's a huge increase. So it will surpass people, and in fact one person will have about 7 devices connected. So that is to indicate how connected we are, whether we realize it or not. So it will form, say, these are the future cyber conflicts. So what are the trends in the global environment? Well, I'd like to quote some of the facts and figures here. In terms of, for example, cybercrime damage cost 6 trillion annually by 2021. So that's in terms of cybercrime. And then the spending will also exceed 1 trillion between 2017 to 2021. And then even I'd like to highlight the issue of talent here, unfilled security jobs. will reach 1.5 million by 2019. So these are the reality. And global ransomware damage predicted to exceed 5 billion. So ransomware, I think there will be a discussion and a panel that talk about ransomware. So these are the phenomenon. These are facts and figures. This is something that not been created just like that. And in fact, it replaces traditional methods. Yeah? You can see at the global cost of cybercrime from 3 trillion to 6 trillion by 2021. I mean, this is to reflect that it's no longer traditional crime, but cybercrime will surpass that. I had a discussion with the Royal Malaysian Police, who's in charge on cyber, which is a commercial crime department. They say that nowadays about 70% of the commercial crime department activities are related to cybercrime. So you can see that how much it has gone through change in terms of the traditional crime now become the cybercrime as a factor. The other challenges we're facing is this issue of darknet. You can see that hacking can be brought as a service. You know, DDoS attack, just $3 to $5 per hour. Website hack, just 100 to 300 US dollar, etc. Credit card details, botnet. So this is the reality. This is a good business. Well, actually, if you ask me, when I had a discussion, I used to sit with, I think last year, I think 1 or 2 years ago, I sit in the panel with the FBI from the US Embassy in a financial sector conference. I like his statement. He said actually cybercrime is a business by itself. So it's a new economic growth for some of these people, you know, because they create a lot of money from this, you know, and they even very structured, organized crime. They have their own CEOs, CTOs, head of recruitment, marketing, really like just any other corporate. That's what the FBI said. So I said, well, that's why we are actually facing a challenge managing this type of organized criminals, or cyber criminals, you know. And in terms of espionage and data breaches, these are some of the statistics, you know. You can see that the risk landscape for 2017 in terms of top 5 global risks. I would like to highlight this massive incident of data theft that we have a lot of cases recently. And these are some of the costs, statistics, annual cost of data breach, spending, etc. And in addition to that, the issue of attacks at critical system and critical infrastructure. This is happening globally. I think look at some of these recent, I think we all know about this, not Petya recently, and before we have this ransomware with the WannaCry. There's a trend, I would say a trend of attacking critical infrastructure. And most of these critical infrastructure, these sectors are deploying ICT. And somehow, whether they are ready or not, these attackers, they don't care. So they will attack, because the trend is, that's the direction, you know. The likelihood, if you look at some of these statistics, of a cyber attack disrupting critical infrastructure, 38%, you know. And then medium, 46%. So roughly you can say that if you add 38 for 46, but this is 80+%. So that's the tendency. Yeah, and these are some of the more examples, you know, that we had. I think in the UK we recently heard about this. It cripples the NHS. So that's the impact. So that's global scenario. So what about Malaysia? Well, we can say that we are also exposed. Not Malaysia only, but every country is moving towards digitalization. So we have Digital Malaysia Initiative, we have Digital Free Trade Zone, we have Digital Economy Initiative. It's not just Malaysia, but worldwide. And in Malaysia specifically, see, for example, this year is the year of Internet Economy. We also launch our Digital Free Trade Zone. We push for Digital Nation. It will be central to the economy of the country. So while we talk about all these threats, we are pushing for more digital banking, digital healthcare, etc. So that's the trend, like it or not. But it will bring along new security issues. And as Malaysia goes, Malaysia's economy goes high-tech, so do the cyber threats. And these are some, are we ready? The word is, in Malaysia it means, adakah kita bersedia? That means, are we ready? The cyber crime also has surged, and these are some of the scenarios. So I would like to highlight some of the statistics. This is a survey by one of multinational that focus on Malaysia, Unisys. In their study, they have identified what is the Malaysians' concern on security, and that includes the non-cyber, that means the physical one, natural disaster, terrorist attack, etc., etc., personal safety, and especially the millennial, that means age 18 to 24, what's their main concern. The top three is actually cyber-related. It's like credit card fraud, this authorized access misuse of the, your identity in online, and this shopping, banking online. So the e-commerce. So we push e-commerce, but the statistics shows the concern of the Malaysians, especially the millennial. And looking into overall, just now talking about the millennial, and now is the Malaysian citizen itself. Their concern about natural disasters, etc., has gone down. In fact, the top three is fraud, ID theft, and virus hacking. So the security concern has gone cyber now. Just like I mentioned just now, it's no longer traditional, it's gone cyber concern. That's the reality in Malaysia. It is not done by Cyber Malaysia, it's by multinational who did some research in some of countries in Asia, in ASEAN, and they are focused on Malaysia. This is the outcome. So I was also with them during their press release in terms of releasing the outcome of the study recently. Specifically in Cybersecurity Malaysia, we have our Cyber 999, our help center, where people, internet users can report to an internet incident. So we have received, these are some of the cases, incidents reported to us, and my concern is like this malware and botnet drones infections that we detected in Malaysians' IPs. We may be able to detect whether they want to clean or not, whether they realize or it is impacted them. These are things that beyond our control. These are things that we hope through this awareness, engagement, we hope they can sort of like clean up their infrastructure. In the context of incident, specifically, if you notice, we receive various categories, 9 categories. What I want to highlight is the incidents that we received this year. The top categories has been fraud, intrusion, and malicious code. This has been consistent for the 5 to 6 years in Malaysia. That reports to Cybersecurity Malaysia. So what does it mean? It means that almost about 40+% of total incidents are related to fraud. So it jives with the cybercrime issues, because we incorporate all those frauds like phishing, online fraud, etc., all under this. Intrusion is more the hacking, the activities, and then malicious code, the ransomware case, the malware attack. These are the trend in Malaysia. So it is something that it's not just for this year, but had happened for the past 5 to 6 years. So we are vulnerable, as mentioned just now, frauds, and these are some of the news you can see here. Makes up almost 50%. A lot of love scam, credit card syndicate. We are quite vulnerable in terms of internet scam, etc. 1 billion lost to online scam. So these are issues that are happening in Malaysia. And we also have this espionage. Confirmed APT30, this has been by FII 2015. This APT30 state-sponsored group spied on some of these countries, including Malaysia, for the past 10 years. These are those that be able to detect. What about those be able to detect? The one that we discussed yesterday. So these are some of the issues. So we are at risk, both in terms of espionage and the state-level attacks. And some of these mentioned, even the spy active in Malaysia, and doing our case of MH370, etc. So these are real issues that happen in Malaysia. And only that, data leakage. These are issues also of concern in Malaysia, especially the government, you know, to the level the government has put a security directive to be mandated to prevent leak of government secrets, you know, and then they want all those, especially those in the government, and not to disclose confidential information. And hacktivism, well, it happens to basically to tarnish the image, whatever. The government website, this is in, we used to have this, not only in this 2011, this in 2013, and several websites, and the most recent one, I think, the SEA Games. Even SEA Games, traditional conflicts spread to the cyberspace because of, you remember the case of the flag upside down, so it creates a bit of havoc, the trend of activism in Malaysia, Israel. So how do we cope with this? You know, what are the measures, you know, to turn all this into opportunities, the risk into opportunities? Well, we believe that it is important for us to approach it from a more holistic view, and covering especially the aspects of people, the process, technology. And for example, on the technology, we believe that traditional security is important, but it is no longer sufficient. You know, malware, for example, now is raising a hit when existing security tools cannot keep up. So we need intelligent, automated threat detection and response. It's absolutely critical in moving forward because nearly 80%, 88% of today's malware can morph to avoid detection by the signature surveys, antivirus solutions. And the concern is most of the APT malware lies dormant and remains undetected. And I'll say a time of great risk, time between compromise and mitigation. Obviously, the shorter, the better, but the longer, then the impact is higher. So, security innovation need to evolve this with technology advancement. You know, smart algorithm, math are not enough. Need large volumes of data to detect maybe even subtle anomalies. That's why we believe that to ensure continuity of business operation, we need to be more adaptive, not just able to prevent and respond or to detect, but mean also to increase the capability to predict. You know, and this is where the issues of data analytics, where, for example, anything that we do in internet, it creates data, and out of data we should be able to describe behavioral, the patterns, and out of that we should be able to understand the trend and be able to do some prediction. So it is very important for us to not wait and respond, but to leveraging on the various technology, the AI like Datuk Arif mentioned, or the data analytics. So, for example, these issues of user and entity behavior analytics, you know, where the activities that we do in internet are captured in the form of data that describe behavior that could come from security data here. These are the various data sources. From there we could extract the knowledge, link them, and do analysis on them. So to be able to understand the data, to predict the behavior, and can hopefully add values to the organization functions. So we should be able to leverage on this, building security descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics capabilities. Okay. The other thing on the process governance, it's not just on technology, but we need to also look into the governance side. For example, in the case of Malaysia, Malaysia at the highest level is coordinated by the National Security Council, and we have a new agency that looks specifically on cyber-related issue called NACSA, where we will work closely with NACSA, providing our technical support, but at the same time we work closely with the various law enforcement agencies and various other critical infrastructure, government agencies, etc. We have this national cybersecurity policy that looks into all these 10 critical sectors with the vision to ensure that the CNI is secure, resilient, and self-reliant, covering various aspects of governance, legal, technology, culture, and capacity building, R&D, compliance, readiness, and international cooperations. So these are some of the services that we do, and some of the responsive and mitigative actions that we had in collaboration with National Security Council, that just now that Arif mentioned about when the attack happens. So it is actually coordinated through the National Security Council, and under the directive, we have established Directive 24. Now actually through the establishment of NACSA, there is a new directive to be developed in progress, which will strengthen in terms of the readiness of the country. So this is quite some time ago. They call it National Security Council Directive 24. They will be producing national directive, I think 8, that involve the issue of cyber readiness. And then these are some of the services that we develop, especially to able to detect, eradicate, and do some forensic analysis to those malware that's already inside. This we are proud to share, whereby this developed by both my team, MyCert and Digital Forensic, locally developed with tools from FireEye, and we won the Best Cybersecurity Innovation Award in 2015 in Washington to be able to detect those malware that's already inside. And this is part of sharing in terms of combating cybercrime, media release on the WannaCry, and the post-event crisis in terms of highlighting how we can help to recover for those who have been attacked by WannaCry. We can recover those data. And this in terms of collaborations, because we believe that we have to work both locally, domestically, and internationally. Some of the platforms that we work together, public-private partnership, and then the various international, bilateral, and multilateral engagement that we have. And the last but not least, actually this is the weakest link, the people side. We have this capability, acculturation capacity building study that created in 2010, spearheaded by the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation with us. And we believe that the approach of at the international level, we have to work both bilaterally and multilaterally. These are some of the initiatives, the AP CERT, CISCAP, OIC CERT that we deal with. And we work with international training providers like EC Council, the ISC Squared. We work with ISACA, etc. So we believe that the partnership is very important. No one can work alone. No one has the capability to do it alone. It is important, the engagement just now, like Datuk Arif, we have to work together. Even we work with universities. We have this Master in Cybersecurity program that we announced in 2015. It's sold out. All this sold out. No need for much promotion. Is doing very well because it's a combination of academic and practical. So my team also involved in providing the practical, I would say, experience to the students, and also expose them to the tools, real data. We work with various others. In fact, just now this morning also I was in one of the private colleges in Malaysia, KDU, where we established a platform between industry and universities, academia, as a way of building talent and capabilities for Malaysia. So it's one way of producing more talents for the country. And then in terms of R&D, we have various organizations together. MIMOS is currently the National ICT R&D Agency. So we work closely with them in the field of cyber security, in the field of development of cryptography, algorithm for the country, etc. And we are proud to share that there was a study recently by Global Cybersecurity Index to measure the commitment of the member states to cybersecurity. This against 193 member countries by ITU, looking into aspects of legal, technical, organizational capacity building and cooperation. We were ranked third globally, behind Singapore and United States. And in terms of capacity building, we were ranked highly by the study, because it shows that we stress not only the issues of technical, for example, because a lot of people look at cyber as a technical issue. It is, but it is not just that. So we believe that a lot more to be done, and we are working with the various partners, industries, local and international, to manage this. So in general, in conclusion, our approach with new emerging technology should be adopting holistic strategy and also adopting the use of new cyber tools. Maybe later on there will be new tools that these are things that about leveraging the technology that is there. Apply security fundamentals with innovative features and techniques. That means you still need that traditional security approach, but you need to make it innovative to manage the changes that is there. Strengthening the public, private and international collaboration, and evolve in parallel with technology by enhancing sharing of information, incident response, coordination, capacity building, research, awareness and education.